why not book everything else? This is definitely a bougie experience.
And so everyone wants to be an everything app. Airbnb is going to take a swing at that. Is it just, explicitly for the bougie folk? I think time will tell.
Welcome to the Friday Flow with Jordan and let's go. Fact news and all the trends. Tune in now with your friends.
Happy Friday, Will.
Happy Friday, Jordan. It seems like you had some technical difficulties, but
yes.
you're here now.
Technical difficulties, all sorts of difficulties. I'm calling in from an Airbnb in Paso Robles. I'm here for a wedding. I had a lot of trouble setting up my little studio here. I'm currently kneeling on a pillow. The laptop is on the bed, and this is the only place I can get Wi-Fi. Also, just to throw a little shade on Airbnb, check out this mattress topper. Here's my bed.
It's like a scene from Jaws. It's a shark attack in the bedroom.
I think someone ate it. I swear, someone ate a piece of the mattress topper. It's bizarre.
Well, at least you have a really cool bird image behind you. Is that three-dimensional?
It's three-dimensional.
Pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't come with great mattress toppers, but they sure have nice art. So it's, check.
Nailed.
It's fine. Well, I'm in Airbnb, and the main story we're going to talk about is Airbnb. So
what's the coincidence?
Let's just jump into it. Yeah, they have, I'm not going to say rebranded, but they have launched Airbnb 2.0. What is it, you may ask? It is Airbnb with other stuff. So Brian Chesky, the CEO, he went off and he had some crazy zany weekend. I guess this all happened the same weekend that Sam Altman was ousted and then immediately returned. Perfect founder mode. Love that.
I had to find my founder mode hat for Brian's zany weekend.
Love it. But yeah, I guess he was just so amped up when Sam Altman got reinstated that he just went off for like a couple days and just rethought Airbnb. And this is what he came up with. So I have a few screenshots here. Okay, see, Airbnb is in midlife crisis mode. So this article talks about just how he came up with it and what the plan is going forward. This is 2.0. There's a lot more to come, but so far I was looking through it and it's pretty much the same. They've had experiences in the past and I've used a few, but they're really doubling down on the idea that if you're booking your boarding where you're staying, why not book everything else? So a lot of people are afraid of using Airbnb because you don't get the spa service and the gym service and the in-room dining and the restaurants and such. So this allows you to get all of that through services or experiences, and then services, just like I said, chefs, photography, prepared meals. I will say it is a lot more expensive than if you go to a hotel. If I go to a hotel, there's just a restaurant there. There's like a spa. It's usually free. This is definitely like a huge additional charge. And by the way, the private chefs are not cheap. So like this is definitely a bougie experience. What do you think? Is this a good decision? Is it going the right direction?
Well, founder mode Brian, credit where credit's deserved. He's really leaned into this. I think this is probably been building since the start of COVID. Remember, he had an existential time in COVID with Airbnb. They were a hugely successful business. They were still a private company, and overnight, all of basically their revenue got shut down. And he had to make a decision. He had to make a decision on his team. He let go a lot of people. He had to make a decision on how to guarantee people's stays when they were booking it. There was a whole crazy piece that was and drama around that, which he handled really, I think, effectively. Part of that did bore out of that was the experiences, as you talk about. And so they have been on there for a while. I think what's interesting here is he's reimagining this as almost the everything app. And so everyone wants to be an everything app. Everything apps exist in other countries and a lot of success in Southeast Asia with like Gojek and Rappi in LATAM. But we yet to have one here in the United States and in Western Europe. And so Airbnb is going to take a swing at that. Uber have tried to take a swing at that in the past. This seems like the announcement was bigger than potentially the first version of what it looks like. So they've curated a bunch of services. I totally agree. If you add all these up together, it's going to cost you more than a hotel. Is that what you want? Is it just for explicitly for the bougie folk? Is it kind of like the black car private driver start of Uber that then turned into the flywheel that then became the new paradigm for for taxis, I think time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the Everything app, Brian Chesky also said one of his big inspirations was Amazon. So Jeff Bezos famously started Amazon as a bookstore that has now become a everything store, right? And so it doesn't matter what you are today, there's always tomorrow. You can always like really keep it going. I also think Uber didn't try to become an everything app. I think they've succeeded in what they're setting out to do. So I mean, they don't do everything. Like, Gojek has other services, but, ride hailing and food
Mhm.
delivery. Like, I mean,
But they
they're
do
doing.
packages. I mean, DoorDash does
That's
the same
true.
as
Yeah.
well. I think everyone's
Yeah.
going quite broad with what
Yeah.
they do. Airbnb is playing in that space as well. It's obviously an extremely lucrative space. Another take I saw on this online from Ben Thompson of Stratcatchery is that the concern around here is this one-time purchases, or is this trying to move more towards repeatable transactions? So like, if you're looking on here for training or for hair, typically you don't go and get a hairdresser that you really like and then you go and try a new one the next week. You kind of want to stick with your barber. How long have you had your barber for, Jordan?
Long time. I've followed my barber to three different barber
Right.
locations as
I'm
he's
I'm the
moved.
same. I'm
Yeah.
the same. And so with marketplaces, this is always a risk, right? It's like you make the connection, you take some sort of take rate. Why would you continue paying a marketplace its transaction to go back to your barber over and over again? Or you might do if that transaction is extremely low. So who knows how this is going to be? If it's purely for people who are out of town, they need a one-time piece. My thought would be that the idea here is they're trying to make it a little bit more repeatable, a little bit more predictive. That will be obviously great for the stock and for the long-term growth of the company.
Interesting.
If they're doing that, how to keep people transacting on a marketplace is still it's a big question.
Interesting take. So actually, I had a similar take. Services I didn't think about, but yeah, I guess going after like a Vagaro or something could be interesting. I was thinking like the obvious one is going after OpenTable and Resi. Like that is, to me was just why is that not like front and center in their minds? If they are going after what do you do when you travel? You're booking restaurants. That's like the number one thing that I do. Maybe other people are different, but I'm like, where am I going? Booking a restaurant. That's like number one. And that can become a little bit more repeatable, right? And so I use OpenTable quite often. But if I switch to something I like better, why not? I don't think I'm loyal to either of those platforms.
I totally agree with you. That was going to be my second take on this as well, is to launch a 2.0 of a platform in 2025 that is not centered around AI feels a little less adventurous than I'd expect. We all know that the LLMs are really great at compiling things like itineraries. That was like the first example that ChatGPT ever came out with. It was like, hey, I'm going to Tokyo, give me an itinerary. Airbnb is an itinerary. Where the hell is the AI search and pulling together everything that Jordan needs to do in his 24 hours in Paso Robles, right? Like this feels very much like a missed opportunity. We talk about AI on this show a lot. How's Brian missed this one such a wide swing?
He did say he wants to incorporate it. So he didn't ignore it. He said the next step will be basically giving you your virtual concierge that can walk you through exactly what Jordan wants to do in Paso Robles, booking his Airbnb, booking his
That
spa,
just smells a little bit like a
I
Google
agree.
announcement, a demo without the actual product. So yeah, interesting that he came out with that. Seems like that's like an afterthought, probably when he got feedback on this proposal. So yeah, I saw that. I'm poking fun a little bit because that's all we do is
Yeah.
talk about AI here. But yeah, it feels like the concierge, the itinerary is the bit that's missing here. I think if I was launching 2.0, that's probably what would have been front and center. It feels like the thing that was front and center for this and has caused a bit of debate in the online circles is that skeuomorphism is back. Oh, I don't know how much you care about design. These little nice little icons here are splitting the internet. Is skeuomorphism, which is realism in design, is it back? We've entered a very flat version of UI design today. Your iPhone used to be skeuomorphic. You remember when you first had your first iPhone, every little icon looked like the proper thing it was meant to be. Really beautiful icons. Now it's all really flat. So maybe everyone's zigging. They're like, we need to zag. Do you think skeuomorphism back? Do we think that this is going to Woflow?
Okay, so this is actually a fantastic segue to the next topic for today. I'm going to move the topics around because this just flows perfectly into it. Google has announced their material design 3, I believe it's 3. And so it's the new version of the material design. If you don't know, Google's material is known for material design. That's what you see all over the place in all of their products. They open source it, they allow you to use all of their own components. And they have just come out with their new design. Let me share with you. Here it is. This is definitely not skeuomorphism. This is something different. To me,
I was gonna say.
this is very Gen Z. Just from first look, what do you think? Do you like it? I do like it. I personally think it actually looks quite nice. I was looking through some of their components, and they're fun. They're
So is
supposed to
this for people
emit
to just
emotion.
is this for people just to take and use their components without changing the design? So this is a design standard, or it's to collate and create your own
It's to create your own. So you
iterative
have
of
all
it?
of these components. This is just kind of like a design system. So you have floating action buttons, just regular buttons. You can go through and just use any of these buttons, and you can control the state of the button. So every possible thing in this design system has been created for you. I think it's interesting. One thing that the reason I really wanted to bring this up actually was not because of Airbnb, but because they have not emphasized a lot of like chatbot in it. Like a lot of what we're talking about is where is
Again,
UI
missing the AI.
gonna go? It's not avoiding it. Like I mean, they could be right. Like there's a lot of components that they've put together that are incorporated into chatbots, but I expected them to be like, this is what we think a chatbot will look like because this is what you and I think of as the next evolution of UI. It's a lot of chat interface. It's like, are you going to be clicking buttons or are you going to be typing into a chat? These are like two very different user experiences. So yeah, they didn't really talk too much about it. I like it. I actually think it's very nice. I'm gonna be playing around with it a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take as well. Obviously, the emphasis is on design for humans, right? So, like, is this attractive and interactive enough for humans to understand? There's a huge part of the sort of shift in the way that people think about building any kind of app or website today is to make sure it's got accessibility in mind, so that everyone, no matter the person should be able to access and have accessible access to websites. It's almost like maybe there's like an accessibility that's needed for bots. So beyond the standard robot.txt and those kind of things, maybe there's going to be some sort of, and maybe they'll say we don't need it because they understand HTML and they can look at spans and they can figure out divs and all of that. But maybe there will be some level of accessibility that we actually do need to start incorporating into systems. They've missed the boat on it here. They could have been the one to first coin it. The one thing I will say on this is, do I truly trust leaving my icon, my UI design to the company that came out with this? So every single icon by Google looks the same, and I don't know what any of it is. I don't know how people use Androids because I can just only imagine the whole thing just looks like what I see here. So that's my hot take on relying on Google for the design.
Interesting. This has no merit to it, but I will say, just thinking about like LLM accessibility, I would think that skeuomorphism as a concept is probably less accessible than what we just saw in Material 3. Very flat, no real shading, like just very, very straightforward geometric shapes, as opposed to skeuomorphism. It's got to have to, understand a little bit more about the shadows. This is just like a top of mind thing. I could be so wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of data scientists out there that would just be like, Jordan knows nothing about this. And that's correct. I don't. But that's just my top of mind thought.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that sounds correct. If anything, if you try to explain the services icon on Airbnb into an LLM versus a button from Google's list into an LLM, I'm sure the context will use plenty more tokens to explain the
Possibly.
Airbnb version. So you're right. I think in that it would use more compute, but that's fine, right? We need to use more compute.
Just more compute. More compute. Okay, last topic. This one it is a controversial topic. We're not going to actually discuss what happened exactly, but I want to discuss my thoughts around how it happened and why it happened. So this past week, Grok's chatbot had this unauthorized modification. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but essentially what happened is there are prompts that Grok and same with OpenAI and essentially all of these chatbot companies, they have the prompts under the hood that dictate what the chatbot should do. And so it basically says if a user was to ask you about this, respond with these, five things, whatever. That's like a very general, I guess, statement I just said. It's definitely not about everything that the user could ask about, but they do make a few rules in the main prompt that the chatbot has to abide by. And somebody actually hacked the chatbot. Somebody hacked the prompt and made some very controversial statements in that prompt. So explain to the chatbot, okay, just out of nowhere, tell the customer, tell the end user X, Y, and Z. And the fact that that was able to get published into the actual prompt that was then in production for everybody, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of users that were getting these like highly controversial things that were just fed to them in Grok. So they're, asking about where should I get my wedding dress? And all of a sudden it's like spits out some crazy stuff that was unprompted. And so to me, what's interesting is this is the first time I'm seeing some malicious hacking activity at the actual foundation. I wouldn't say foundation model level, but the actual like the chatbot itself.
It's like the
So
system
like
prompt level.
the system prompt level. So it's like I'm used to people hacking actual code. So if you can deploy malicious code that does interesting things, it seems a lot harder to actually catch. Whereas this is in plain English, prompted to the system that was uncaught. To me, that's just kind of crazy. And is this a new era of hacking systems and being malicious?
Yeah, I think that's right, and we should be concerned with that. I do think I don't know if I truly believe the narrative that's coming out of XAI on what happened here.
Ooh.
Given the amount of stuff that Elon posts and how this is about South Africa and white supremacists there. So I don't know what happened. I did see it all over my timeline, I think yesterday when I was looking at stuff, which is a real shame because the whole thing that you want in a model is an unbiased view and you want no hallucinations, right? Like that's like the goal when you're trying to do factual checking, not creative stuff, but like you're trying to do some fact work or you're trying to understand about a subject. And so anyone injecting something into that, however it happens, in my opinion, is bad, and it makes you distrust the model more so. So, like, I use Grok a fair amount in Twitter, in X, because there's a little icon you can press on any one post, and it'll give you more information. I actually find this is great. It's kind of like a Wikipedia for a given subject, and I think the amazing thing that Grok has that other LLMs don't have is access to that timeline information. So if you want to ask, what's the latest thinking in skeuomorphism, you can just ask, and it's going to go and search the internet, including Twitter, and that's a huge part of the public zeitgeist. And so you can get some really decent answers. This makes me nervous to use those tools because I don't know if I can trust it. So I think they need to come back strong. I think they mentioned what happened. Does that give me more trust that it was a hack that did it? Probably not. I don't know if I'd think which way, one way or the other. I think both are bad, but I think we just need less and less of these kind of things happening to build the trust, because ultimately we are moving into a world, right, where there's so much emphasis being put on these models. You already see people write things. People have taken court cases to court where it's hallucinated. They've used ChatGPT and it's hallucinated a ruling that never existed. So like people are going to get lazy. They are going to utilize these. And so to do that, we need a very high level of trust and certainty that what's in there is unbiased and factual when requesting that.
I agree. And I used Grok to actually ask it. I heard you had some unauthorized modification in your code base from an angry employee. And so this is something that, because it is connected to X, you're right. I am able to get real-time information, but I thought it was kind of funny that I used it to ask information about it, and
very meta.
No word on who the employee was or if they got the boot. So we'll see.
This is developing.
We'll see. Developing story. Well, that does it for our Friday flow this week. Look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. Have a great one.
All right. Thank you. Bye.